Good day to everyone, wherever you are in the world, or if you're watching live or on demand. Steve Wiss here, and I'm joined by Ashley Waite, and we're here to talk about the big match tomorrow in the Europa League final, Sevilla against Roma. And you kind of, your own team here in action, Ashley, Roma, unless you've disowned them now. I know you disowned the ball that you had behind you once. Well, first of all, how are you, and what's the deal with you and Roma these days?
It's a complicated relationship. Yeah, I gave up their ball because I just got so sick of trying to make heads or tails of them. My heart is still with them, but not like it was. It's just they're just a very boring team. You guys know I hate boring teams, so I've just gotten sick of their defensive style. And I don't know. So they're not my favorite team, even in Serie A anymore. I still do like them. I pull from. I love Mourinho. And I'm excited to talk about this one because although they're not my favorite team in Serie A anymore, they can, sneak up and bite teams just even when they're looking like they're in horrible form, which they are lately. I think they've won outright one of their last nine, or which was against Leverkusen, which is nice. But this is going to be a very, very intriguing, interesting juggernaut of a matchup. I think this is kind of as close to it gets as a coin flip, really.
That's what the books certainly think. And we've got the pedigree of Sevilla, who've won this competition, I think, 6 times. Jose Mourinho's got an amazing record in European finals. Of course, they won the Conference League last year. There's also the dangling carrot of a place in the Champions League for both, because in their respective leagues, they just haven't done enough this season to get in the top 4. So plenty at stake. The books, inside 90 minutes, plus 180 on either side. The tie is plus 200. This is a proper pick'em game. And I've seen lots of differing opinions out there. I think me and you probably will be of slight differential opinion who we actually think may well lift the trophy potentially here. And then we're going to talk through all the main betting markets, and then we'll go on with some picks that we've got for the game. I guess the first port of call, though, is to think about what's going to happen inside 90 minutes. Now, the last 2 finals of this have actually gone to extra time. Eintracht Frankfurt against Rangers and Villarreal against Manchester United. So, in fact, both went to penalties, didn't they, in fact? So, inside 90 minutes then, Ashley, what is your prediction for this game?
Well, first, I'm going to talk about the inside 90 minutes that you keep emphasizing, because that is very important. You guys that have been betting this for a while already know that. But just know, if you're somewhat new to betting this format, if you take, you do have to realize that your initial bet, unless it specifically says it covers extra time and penalties, it's just for 90 minutes plus stoppage time, of course. But so, if you were to take, say, a Sevilla money line, and in 90 minutes it's 0-0, and they end up winning 1-0 in extra time, that is a loss. So, just be really careful when you're placing your bet, whether it's 90 minutes or extra time is included. As far as I see this going, I know pretty much everyone is on the under. I definitely see that Roma are, not only do they try to play defensive, they are fantastic defensively. So I give the defensive edge to them. I do give the attacking power. I give a slight edge to Sevilla there. And even trying to find an angle here with experience. So like you said, Sevilla, they've won the most. I think they come into this with confidence. I think Roma come into this with confidence. Both teams have had subpar league performances for the season, to say the least, right? I believe Sevilla sits somewhere like 11th or something ridiculous. So to win Europa, like you said, automatic lock into the Champions League, which is absolutely huge, you all know. So, I think both teams maybe have had somewhat lackluster performances in their leagues lately because they're just focusing on this one. So, I'm going to kind of lean towards Sevilla draw no bet here and just say that they can avoid defeat. But like when I say, I think this is the epitome of a coin flip. That's literally what I mean. I can make an argument for either side here.
Yeah, you are going to take Sevilla draw no bet inside. Then this is 90 minutes. So you obviously don't think they're going to lose at the very least in terms of the match result in that respect. What do you think it is about Sevilla that in your mind? Because obviously we talk about value and stuff. Do you think that Sevilla should be priced up slightly shorter here, perhaps to win inside 90?
No, I don't. I think the books have it spot on because, like I say, I could make a case for taking Roma a draw no bet also. I mean, they have Mourinho, and so to go against him makes me nervous, right? The guy is when it comes to continental play, he doesn't lose. So yeah, I don't know. I think the books have it right on. I think they're kind of where we are, right? Like they can see either team just has as good of a shot as the other one. So, why am I leaning more Sevilla? It's tough to say. It's so paper thin of why. Like I said, just give them a little bit more of an advantage when it comes to attacking power. I know that Roma, they typically try to sit back and play defense, and it works for them. But I think that if they do that, I say that Sevilla have enough firepower to get one past their defense. So, yeah, tough. I'm not even going a full unit on that. I played half a unit on their draw no bet. Yeah, so I wouldn't go crazy with really any bet in this match. My bet builder is my favorite bet, which we'll get to shortly.
I would agree with you about don't go crazy on anything. I was thinking that when I was researching this game the last few days. I was thinking, give me a good old goal fest in the Norwegian second tier than this any day of the week, because it doesn't scream a match for goals. But it's interesting. The goal line itself, it's minus money for under 2 goals. Now the record, there's actually a decent record for goals in Europa League finals. Ashley, I've looked back since the turn of the century. The last 8 have all contained at least 2 goals inside 90 minutes. You have to go back to 2013-14 season. Sevilla against Benfica for it ended 0-0. So the pass would actually suggest if you were going to take over 1.75 goals, and you can get that at minus 130. Then, and bear in mind, over 1.75 goals usually only becomes available in matches around the 35th, 40th minute normally. So to get it right from the start of the match, it's a really unusually low line. Right. It has cashed quite often since the turn of the century in this final. But because of who's involved, you've got to think it will be tight. Because I actually, there's no way I'd be. I personally just wouldn't bet against Jose Mourinho in the European final. I think he's the absolute. I've never been a greatest Mourinho fan, but he's a results manager, isn't he? You look at some of those matches that they've got through. I think against Salzburg, Feyenoord, Bayer Leverkusen. I mean, they hardly had any shots in those games in the away legs.
Right.
They found a way to either draw or lose closely. He has that knack of winning ugly, doesn't he? Of getting the result ugly. But equally, if they did find themselves behind, then I think Roma, Mourinho he knows how to try and get a goal as well. So my prediction inside 90 minutes is a draw. I think this is going to go extra time. I really think there's a good chance of it actually ending 1-1 exactly. I would have said 0-0, but as I say, for some reason, this final tends to have a record of goals in it. Now, again, you can't really look back because there's so many different teams, but because it's not the Champions League, maybe teams are just slightly more relaxed about things.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and a number that I find interesting, like you said, you would kind of think that it would lend to not as many goals. But if I'm not mistaken, I think 4 of the last 6 finals have hit both teams to score. So,
yeah,
I may be a little contrarian and maybe even sprinkle that. Like I said, anything I bet in this, I'm not going to go crazy with it, but everyone's expecting kind of a 0-0 final, which I could very well see too. Yeah, this is the only match that literally I could see each side of every argument on it. But when everyone's on something, it tends to make me a little nervous. So I know everyone's on the under. Like I said, I think Sevilla can score. I don't think they can score a lot versus this Roma defense, but I also think that Roma can score. They have firepower of their own. So, yeah, and the recent stats, like I said, for the last 6 do support both teams scoring. So that might be an interesting angle. Obviously, taking the over 1.75, like Steve was talking about, that's a safer route, right? In case you do have one team score twice, and that takes relying on both teams to score out of it. But yeah, that's kind of an angle I'm flirting with. Haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, though.
Yeah, both teams have scored in 6 of the last 8 Europa League finals, and I think there's a very good chance of 1-1 exactly inside 90 minutes. If I had to place my money on anyone to lift the trophy, it would be Roma for me at -110. Obviously, for you, it would be Sevilla. I'm guessing after the DNB pick in the 90s. It's one of those games where I think if you know, of those listening, probably 50% would say, yeah, Sevilla are going to win it. And 50% would say Roma. So it's a toss-up. You've got to go with your gut feeling, though, in these matches. Otherwise, you won't forgive yourself. Anyone watching out there, be committed to what you like, ultimately, because it's such a high-profile game and it's such a pick-em encounter that it could go either way.
Is the price, has it shifted, or what's the price now if we just like for each team to lift the trophy, right? So taking everything else out of it.
Yeah, -110 is both teams.
For both. Yeah, so that's something for you guys to take a look at too. If you don't want to have to worry about extra time, what happens inside 90 minutes, or if it goes to penalties or not, just betting, it's pretty decent value there on just whichever team, no matter what happens in regulation or whatever, who you think at the end is going to be the champion of it. It's not a bad way to approach it either. I do. So I was going to address really quickly. I know Beto Bailey, he can't watch live, but he asked a question. I want to answer it for him because he's one of our loyal followers. So I actually was interested. He asked about, he's leaning towards a first half draw. You guys know from me harping on this, I'm not one to really bet draws at such a specific outcome. But in this case, I really actually do like a first half draw. So playing a correct score of 0-0 is a nice payout. But even in case there's a 1-1, I could see you playing that strong, the way that we expect both teams to approach this. It makes sense. And then numbers that really support it. So for Sevilla's last 5 matches and Roma's last 5 matches, all of those matches have ended in a draw at halftime, right? So, yeah, I mean, when you're getting a little bit of plus money and very, very strong recent stats, because, Steve and I, we don't dig too much into past years. These are different players. But, yeah, the last 5 for each of these teams have ended in a draw at halftime. So, yes, Beetle, to answer your question, I do like that angle, and I'm not someone who usually looks at draws, but those numbers did stand out to me. So I think that that's a solid lean.
Yeah, thanks for your question, Beetle, and hope you enjoy the catch up on demand later in the day when you watch it. I'm going to now talk about the cards market for the game. This is my sort of thing, and the books aren't stupid. I mean, to be fair, they're really sharp on most of the markets in this game. You'd hope they are. It's such a high-profile game; they're going to get a huge amount of volume of bets on the game. They've got to price it well. And I was disappointed to see the card line set at 5.5. It's a pretty fair line. I'm not going to claim there's immense value to be had here, but I'm willing to go overs because of the 2 teams involved. Over 5.5 cards at -110. This is a final, and everything's on the line. And players can do stupid things, or they can do cynical things. They can do a lot of tactical things, but do you know what's interesting is that this this card line hasn't covered in any of the last 5 finals. So
Really?
in the Europa League final, yeah. So I'm dicing a little bit with death here, perhaps. But again, we've got to look at what teams are involved. I mean, Eintracht Frankfurt, the German teams, are known for being pretty, not friendly, but they're not as dirty. Chelsea, Arsenal, I think that was an absolute walkover for Chelsea. So it kind of became a non-event. Villarreal, Manchester United, Man United. I think there was only 3 cards in that one. The last time that there was 6 or more cards was actually when Man United beat Ajax. And who was the manager of Manchester United that year? It was Jose Mourinho. So that's, for me, no coincidence, because when he's involved, the dark arts of football often occur. I mean, perfect scenario in this instance would, but to be fair, if either side got a goal and got ahead, there's going to be time wasting galore. Both goalkeepers, watch out for them. Yeah. I suppose I better talk about the referee. It's an English referee, Anthony Taylor. He's a referee I've betted loads of times on in his matches, with some success, some failures. As with all referees, they're human beings. We don't know what's going through that. Sort of, yeah. Some might say they're a different sort of human.
Not the ones in Turkey. Those aren't human beings. I'm not even going to say on air what those are, but yeah, go ahead. But I get your point.
Yeah, so we don't know how he's approaching this game. I would love to get into the mind of Anthony Taylor right now. Is he thinking, I don't want to look a fool on the world stage, and I'm only going to give 2 or 3 cards? Or is he thinking, you know what, I'm not going to take any shit from these players. I don't care. I'm not standing for any bullshit out there, and I'm going to dish cards whenever it's deemed applicable. And I think he's more likely to be the latter. He's someone who does like to be in the limelight. He won't want a game to get completely out of hand. He won't want to send anyone off, but he may have to in this game. There are 2. I mean, Sevilla are one of the worst teams for discipline in La Liga. I've had some success in them in Europa League before. Yeah. So it's a high line, and this bet literally might just come down to the last 5 minutes, where you're waiting for that one final player to get time wasted or something cynical. I'm not going to cash this in the first half. I'm not going to cash this by 70 minutes. This is something I'm going to have to bide my time with and be patient with. But I think when all things are in, I think the match inside 90 minutes, by the way, anything after that wouldn't count. I think we're looking at 6 or 7 cards, actually. So it's one, again, for me, it'd be just half a unit. I wouldn't go mad on this. If the line was 4.5, I'd be much more all over it. But I still think it will be quite a dirty game.
Well, yeah, and the reason to not go crazy and go half a unit is because of the situational side of it too, right? So if it's still 0-0 and both teams are just kind of reserved to, let's try to get this to extra time or whatever, and then they're not doing anything dirty. But I think if either side has, say, like a 1-0 lead here late, I think you do see the cards start flying. If you have whichever side were to be down, just out of desperation. So, but that depends on the score line. So that's probably a good play to make like a live play on, just kind of see how the flow of the match is going. If it's 0-0 or if the team is down and about to get really fucking pissed off. Cards typically a good way to find live plays, I think.
Anthony Taylor is more of a Champions League referee. He averages 4.4 yellow cards in Champions League play this season, 3.8 yellow cards in the Premier League. He's only been in charge of 1 Europa League game this year, and it was Roma Feyenoord, and there was 9 cards that he dished out there in the semi-final. Half of those were in extra time, it must be added. But I think the way he will approach the game, he will consider himself probably above Europa League standard. Of course, it's an honour to get given a final, but he would much rather be in charge of the Champions League final. You know what I'm coming from. So I think he might get a bit, I don't know. Again, he's a human being. I would love to know what is in his mind right now tonight, because that would dictate the bet. But that's going to be my sort of main pick for the game. We've got a couple of bonus card picks as well. coming up later. I'm going to talk about your bet builder now. Just want to say hello to Hannah Waite and also hello to Effie Brilovsky, who likes over 2 goals in the game. To be fair, based on the stats that we've mentioned, we can't really argue too much about that.
Yeah,
That's all.
I do like that, Effie. Yeah, I like contrarian play. So, yeah, I pretty much everyone's talking about just a boring 0-0, which I also could see. But both of these teams have the ability to score. I think if someone goes up 1-0, then I think, yeah, all bets are off. Then I think both teams just start swinging away, and they have no choice, right? So I like that look.
A bet builder. This is Ashley's bet builder for the game. This was priced up based on Bet365, but I'm sure you can get it anywhere pretty much because we're not into the exotic markets particularly here. Over 3.5 cards. Pellegrini to have 1 or more shots for Roma, and Nesri to have over 1.5 shots for Sevilla. Put them 3 together, and you get in -110. So take it away, Ashley.
Right. So I started to go as far as the cards are concerned is for each team to be carded in the second half. But I've been being burned kind of on these cards, taking like both teams to be carded. They seem like simple bets, but they keep finding a way to screw me. So I just think that this was everything that's on the line for both sides. I think we will see 4 cards. I think both teams will contribute to the card total. I would be shocked if they don't. Yeah, so we need to get 4 cards. It's not a gimme, but I think with the situation and these teams, and Sevilla just known for getting red cards, so they might get hit this by themselves. Doesn't matter, if it's one team or both teams. Well, we just need 4 cards total. Pellegrini, I like him to get a shot here. I do expect, just kind of what my outlook. Before it kicks off is I kind of expect Sevilla to be somewhat the more attacking side. Just, Mourinho just typically is content to play defense and then try to catch you on the counter. So Pellegrini does average over 2 shots in these competitions. So I do think that he will get us 1, whether it's on the counter or something like that. And I was flip-flopping between him and Nasiri, which one I wanted to have to get 2 shots. And so the reason I went with the Sevilla striker to get 2+ is, like I said, I just kind of expect Sevilla to be a little bit more of the attacking side, and he is their main guy. I think if they score inside 90 minutes, there's a pretty decent chance that it's him. So yeah, and none of these has to be on target, thankfully, because you guys know how I can't stand that when everything's in the hands of Opta. So yeah, just Pellegrini to get a shot. He typically averages like 87 minutes per match. So unless he's injured, I don't think we have to worry about him being pulled at the start of the second half or anything like that. And yeah, I think at -110, this is probably what I feel would be my more confident bet, but still, even this one would probably be like a 3/4 of a unit bet for me, since I'm going to have a couple that I'm sprinkling here and there. But even this one, I wouldn't go crazy on. But I think that each of these 3 legs has a really good chance of hitting, and I do love the price on it.
Yeah, I think this is the best pick of the show tonight. I've got to be honest with you. I think it looks really solid, and the shots angle. Both we were talking about this off air. Both of these players do average over 2.5 shots per game in Europa League football, and at least 1.9 shots per game in domestic matches. So they do, if they just cover their normal rate, then not a problem for these. I mean, for those who really wanted to be brave, I suppose you could even take Pellegrini to have over 1.5 shots, but we'll just stick it to the safe one here. We both do like the cards, obviously, in this game in some form. We certainly need at least 4 in this game to get something out of this fixture. But yeah, I think it's a really solid play. And on the subject of cards, we both like them. I suppose it makes sense to have. We're going to give a recommendation each of someone to be carded. The one for me that stood out there's actually quite a few that stand out, so I've got to pick someone. Gianluca Mancini to be carded at +225. He is one of the club captains. So I think when everything comes on the line, he would be expected to become a little bit more cynical if needed. Say they were ahead or chasing the game, even something like a last man foul or something where a desperate measure to stop a counter attack, that sort of thing. He does have 5 cards in the Europa League already this year. He does have 7 in Serie A. Roma actually quite a decent disciplined side in Serie A compared to some teams because they do sit back quite a lot. They're not a high press sort of team. A lot of Roma cards you're going to get are actually not for harassing players. It's more for potentially dissent or time wasting or something really cynical. So yeah, I think Mancini to be carded plus 225 looked a good price to me for someone who has been a serial card offender for them this year, and they're going to be under some pressure from this Sevilla attack. So that was my pick. You like his the centre back partner, Roger Ibanez. Is that how you pronounce him? I don't know.
Ibanez is what I say.
Ibanez, yeah, plus 225 for him. I know he's been catching your eye with several cards this year.
Yeah, he's just someone. I don't dig as deep as you do on these, but I do expect him. He is someone who fouls quite a bit. So if anyone wants to sub this for him to have like 2+ fouls, I think that's a solid look too. But it's just I think it's a good price. Yet again, not a full unit on it, but he's just a guy who is notorious for getting carded. And since I think he will commit a couple of fouls, if this is a ref who is not going to tolerate much shit, then I could see him being one that does draw a card, especially in the second half. Like I said, if Roma are down 1-0 or up 1-0 even, right? And Sevilla team starting to play dirty. So I think at plus 225 with his history of the way that he fouls, I think he's worth a sprinkle.
Yeah, I think we've got all bases covered here with these two guys. Another player who's had 5 yellow cards in the Europa League. In Serie A, he's picked up 9 plus a red. And I don't know what the card double for these two would be. Both carded would be. What would it be, about 5 to 1, something like that?
It would be high,
6 to 1.
Hell if I know. It'd be a nice fat payout. That's what I know.
Yeah, definitely. And you're right about Anthony Taylor. I just don't think Anthony Taylor can be perceived to be weak in this game. I think that's the one thing he'll want to get out of this match. He'll want people to be praising his performance. But the worst thing that could happen to him is if people are saying, what a weak referee, not giving anyone cards for this sort of thing and not protecting the safety of the players. So right. I think it's one of those, if it is legit a card, unless it's like in the first 10, 15 minutes, he might let quite a few things go there. I think if it's a legit card, he will give. None of this bullshit we've had at times this year where we're like, how the hell is it not got in the book?
Yeah, there's been a lot of that. So hopefully we don't have that here, right? Because there's been some where it's like, they've done everything but body slam the player and not get carded. So hopefully he's not one who lets stuff like that go.
All right. Well, that's nearly half an hour preview on this one game. Might be a bit long for some, but we do go into all angles for the big fixtures, don't we, Ashley?
Yes,
so
we
best
do.
of luck.
That's where you see the name right up there.
Exactly that. Exactly that indeed.
Hey, everyone has different betting styles, right? Some people like cards, some like corners, totals. So we just try to give you every look, give you kind of variety and find value in different areas. So hopefully you glean something from the show.
We will certainly be back for both of the finals as well in Europe this year, Conference League and Champions League. And also a live preview show ahead of the weekend. But thank you very much. Anyone who joined live or on demand, hope you enjoyed it. Hope we give you some ideas for the match as well. You don't just have to copy our plays. You can make your own plays, make your own mind up. Go with your gut feeling on these sort of matches. Seriously. I don't proclaim to be getting an edge on the bookies in these sort of games, unlike some of the other domestic leagues that I have. The books know what they're doing here. So you've got to go with your own reads, your own feelings on the game. And cash those tickets.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck, everybody. Hope you got something, and hopefully next time we do a show, we'll have some interesting winners to talk about from this one.
All right. Cheers, everyone. Take care. Goodbye. We'll see you next time.
See you later.